Hello and welcome back to the Brad TP channel, and today we're doing something a bit different. We're going to be ranking the Football Manager roles, so obviously the roles that you can select in your tactics. We've got 5 categories to rank from today. We've got GOAT, which is obviously the best roles to use in the game. We've got You Will Play Better, so obviously you will play better with those roles in your team. Mid, they can go one or two ways. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be bad. You know that meme.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
And then we've got bad, which is just roles that every time I seem to use, they just never seem to work out. And then we have why is it even a role? Ones that you would just never ever use. Like, if you use those roles, I'd be very shocked. But let's get started with advanced forward. And I think advanced forward is the best striker role in the game at the moment. It's the one I find the most effective. A lot of the other striker roles I've tried complete forward, I've tried pressing forward, even false 9. None of them seem to have the effect that advanced forward does. Just a player that's going to sit forward, break the lines. He can be in the build-up play as well, but advanced forward is always a good role. And joining in it is attacking midfielder. Again, the best attacking midfield role. That is your player. That is your Jude Bellingham. That is your Kevin De Bruyne, your Jamal Musiala. He's going to pick the ball up in midfield. Not always just look for a pass. He's going to dribble. He's got an eye for a goal as well. It's just the pure attacking midfielder that isn't going to just be creating all the time. He's got everything to his game, that attacking midfielder. Next, we've got anchor, and I think you'll play better with an anchor in your team. It's a good DM role if you're going to have it as a sole DM, like in a 4-3-3 with 2 midfielders ahead. The anchor is just a good sweeper kind of DM. He's going to take interceptions, he's going to cut those lanes, and it's a good role to have in DM if you're going. I wouldn't have an anchor if you've got a 2-man DM partnership, but an anchor is certainly good if you've got those attacking fullbacks and you need someone to come in deep and help out that back line. Anchor's a pretty good role. Next is advanced playmaker. Now, if we're going off, there's obviously advanced playmaker all over the field. It can be centre midfield, centre attacking midfield. Even on the wings, you can have an advanced playmaker. There was a tactic that I used this year where I had an advanced playmaker on the right-hand side with an overlapping fullback, and it worked really well. So I'm going to put it in You Will Play Better. Advanced playmaker is one of the roles that's been around forever. It's an all reliable. It's always going to work. It's not one of those GOAT tier roles because sometimes it doesn't work. But I used advanced playmaker off the right with an overlapping wing back, and when he cut inside, and he was basically just playing as a right-sided attacking midfielder, and it definitely just added variety to the tactic because over on the left you've got that inverted winger that's just constantly attacking that back line, but you've got someone over on the right hand side who's not going to do the same thing, so it makes the AI think, and it's something different to add to your team. Moving on then to box-to-box midfielder, I'm going to put mid. It might be a bit controversial, but box-to-box midfielder I haven't got much effect out of. Sometimes they overcommit too far forward, and sometimes they just don't get forward enough. Maybe it's just the players that you use. Obviously, you're going to need someone with really good work rate, really good stamina, and if you're playing a box-to-box midfielder role in a really high-intensity system, whoever's playing that role is going to be so tired all the time. He's going to pick up injuries often. It's a decent role to have, but it's not essential. There's better midfielder roles out there. As for ball-playing defender, absolutely essential in this game. You cannot go anywhere in most of the leagues in the game without a ball-playing defender, especially in the way that the game is this year. You need an effective transition, and ball-playing defenders definitely going to help that. You don't want defenders that are just going to lump it every time they get the ball. You want some composed defenders that can pass the ball out, and not only pass the ball out, but can carry the ball. I've found with one of the tactics that I've used this year that having ball-playing defenders on dribble more and having a good defender that can actually dribble the ball is so good in the transition. They'll pick the ball up, they'll carry it forward, and make sure that they give it to the best possible option and not just trying to give it to the first player they see. So ball-playing defender, definitely an essential role this year. As for ball-winning midfielder, I think you'll play better with a ball-winning midfielder in your team. This is sort of your anchor man in a 2-man midfield. I don't think I'd play a ball-winning midfielder as a sole DM. I think as a sole DM, you're either going to play half-back or anchor. You're not really going to play ball-winning midfielder as a sole DM, but in a midfield too, a ball-winning midfielder linked with like a deep-line playmaker or even an advanced playmaker if you're trying to, be aggressive in the game and dominate. But ball-winning midfielder I found a lot of success out of. Some of the likes of Rodri, obviously really good at that role. Manuel Ugarte, really good at that role. There's plenty of players that can play the ball-winning midfielder role. Moving on then to Carrillo. I think I've pronounced that right. But why is it a role? I've never ever found myself needing to use this role. From what I understand of this role, it's a box-to-box midfielder that doesn't go as far forward and doesn't come as far back, which means they're basically just staying in midfield and just sort of supporting both sides. But if you want that, just get a box-to-box midfielder or a deep-line playmaker on defend. Deep-line playmaker on defend will still carry the ball forward and help out in attack, but will also support the defence. I'm not sure why Carrillo is a role, but some people might use it. If you've had any success using a Carrillo, let me know. Let me know what player you used for this role, because I don't even know who fits this role. But moving on then to central defender, I think you'll play better with a ball-playing defender and a central defender. However, with the tactic I use this year, it's 2 ball-playing defenders, but I found a lot of success out of a ball-playing defender and a central defender in the lower leagues. In the lower leagues, obviously, you're always going to have one centre-back out of the 2 that is older, not as quick, not as comfortable on the ball, your shithouse defender. That is your central defender. You don't really want him on no-nonsense. If you're trying to, be one of the better teams in the league, you don't want him lumping the ball. It's just going to ruin all your counter-attacks. But central defender is a good... I like using central defender on cover, because if you use central defender on cover alongside an attacking wing-back, say your attacking wingers on the right, you put your central defender on the right on cover, and he'll just cover that right-hand side a bit more, and it fits well. Central defender cover fits well when you've got an inverted full-back on the left, so it basically becomes a back three, but the central defender on the right is more likely to cover the right-hand side of the space that's left by an attacking wing-back. But moving on to complete forward, I'm going to put mid, because I have had some success from a complete forward. The likes of Alexander Isak I've used alright with. Højlund, Haaland have done well with complete forwards. But it doesn't always work. I used it a lot at the start of the year, and then I found myself moving away from it because it wasn't really performing as much as some of the other roles like advanced forward. But you can get success out of it, but a very specific type of player needs. There's not many strikers in the game that are quick, strong, tall, can pass a ball, can run with the ball. There's not many. That's why I'm putting it in mid, because there's not many roles like there's not many players that can fit that role. Central midfielder, I'm going to say, this is one of the OG roles. I'm going to say, it's a mid role, realistically. There's obviously, you can play centre mid attack, centre mid support, centre mid defend. When I've used this role, I've used centre mid attack. But again, I don't find myself using this role, but it's one of those roles that you'll use in the lower leagues when you don't want to be too fancy, you don't want to do all this El Tactico shit. You want to just get the bog standard roles. You'll probably have central defenders, you'll probably have fullbacks, you'll probably have central midfielders. Even your striker will probably be on advanced forward or even deep line forward. But central midfielder, it's a decent role. You'll get some out of it, but other times it is just there, and there is better roles in the game. Complete wing back. Now, I'm going to say it's a bad role. It obviously depends on where you're using it. If you're using it in a back five, it's good. Obviously, it's going to be your width. But in a back four, you never want to be using complete wing back, because they're never going to get back, and you're constantly going to leave yourself exposed wide in the defence in a back four. So definitely, if you want an attacking wing back, just use wing back on attack. Don't use complete wing back. It's a bad role in a back four, which is where I'm going to say, because not many people use a back five. But yeah, complete wing back is probably the first bad role on here. As for deep line forward, I'm going to say that's a bad role as well. If you're going to play this, just play false nine. Deep line forward is basically just a false nine, but doesn't sit in midfield as much, and he'll just sit sort of in front of the defence and just sort of get the ball to him and pass it off. Why do you want a striker that's going to do that? You want your strikers to be scoring goals. That's what they're in the team to do. You don't want your striker to be facilitating. And if you do, just use a false nine. So I don't see many occasions where I'm trying to use a deep line forward. But if you get success out of a deep line forward, let me know. Deep line playmaker, I do like this role. I think you'll play better with this role. There's a lot of tactics and systems in the game where this will work, especially on defend. Deep line forward on defend. If you use it as a DM as well, a DM partnership of a ball-winning midfielder and a deep line playmaker, that is a brilliant DM partnership. It will, one of them will be more inclined to go forward, the other will sit back and cover, and definitely help out the defence. Deep line playmakers, you need someone with good vision, good passing, someone who's just going to be pinging balls. And it's a good role, deep line playmaker. I like it. Moving on then to defensive midfielder, and I'm going straight to you will play better. Defensive midfielder is a role that I use in my tactic this year. I use 2 defensive midfielders, a double pivot of defensive midfielders. It's just, it doesn't get them to do too much. You can set your own roles and you can set your own player instructions with this role, and they sort of have freedom to do what they want. They're not going to go forward. They're going to sit in front of that defence and defend. That is their job, and that's all you really want them to do, especially in the tactic I use. Defensive midfielder is just a good role. It's versatile as well. It fits so many different types of systems, and it's just there. It does its job, and you will play better using it. Why is this a role? Why would you want a defensive winger? Unless you're in the 90th minute and you're trying to see out a game that you're 1-0 up against in an important game, why is defensive winger even a role? Why do you want your wingers to defend and not attack? The winger is there to attack. Why is a defensive winger a role? I have no idea. That's all I need to say for that role. Moving on then to, I always struggle to pronounce this, Ngantz, I don't know. I've never used this role before because I've never really seen I'm pretty sure you can play it on the right, you can play it on wing and in attacking midfield, but why is it a role? What does it do? Tell me what it does, because I've never used it. I've obviously seen it, I've read the description of it, I can't remember what it does, but it clearly didn't appeal to me enough to use it, so let me know what it does, but I can't see me ever using it, because attacking midfielder and attacking playmaker attacking midfielder and advanced playmaker are much better attacking midfielder roles, and obviously on the wing, you'll definitely be wanting to use inverted winger or inside forward realistically, or even just winger. False 9, I'm going to actually put mid. I got some success out of a false 9. I had a Crystal Palace save this year where I signed Santiago Jimenez as a striker, and he was shit. He was dreadful. He scored 2 goals, and they were both against Sheffield United, and that was his whole Crystal Palace career in that season. And then when I shipped him off in January, I didn't replace him, so I ended up playing Thiago Almada as a false 9, and it was brilliant. It worked really well. As 2 inside forwards on the wings, it's the Liverpool system, isn't it? You want that 4-3-3 with a false 9, and with good wingers, it really works. So I'm putting it mid because I don't think it will work for every example ever. There will be times where you're just never ever using a false 9. So it is a mid role, but it's not a bad role either because I've definitely found success with it this year. Moving on then to fullback, I think you'll play better with fullback, but it's sort of in the middle here. It's teetering between mid and you'll play better. Fullback is that role where you want to play an attacking system in the lower leagues, but your right back and left back, they're not good enough to fully commit forward. So you'll put them as a fullback, so they'll still go forward and put early crosses in, but they're not going to commit that far forward that they can't get back. Fullback is just a less advanced wing back realistically, and it's a decent role. I think you're never going to be really using fullback in the Premier League or the Champions League, but you will be using it in League 2 and the Championship and League 1. So fullback's definitely useful in the lower leagues, but it's never going to be used in the higher leagues. You'll always be using wing back. If you want a defensive-minded fullback, just use wing back defend, or just use inverted fullback. Moving on then to just standard goalkeeper. It's just mid, isn't it? It's just a goalkeeper. That's its job.
It's his job, isn't it? That's his job to make saves. When I hear people saying someone's a good shot stopper or a goalkeeper, is that not what you're supposed to do?
Is that the kind of save you would expect him to make?
Yeah.
It's to save shots and kick the ball. You probably use this if you've got no goalkeepers that can pass. Other than that, you're not really going to be using goalkeeper. Sweeper keeper, majority of the people on this game will be using sweeper keeper. But goalkeeper, it's a lower league role. There is many roles on here that is a lower league role, and that's fine. Halfback then, I'm going to put mid. I think anchor is better than halfback. Halfback is good in a system where you're trying to defend. You've probably not got a good team, but you want... Halfback will sort of potentially a back five, so a back three, 2 wing backs that are always going to go forward. Your halfback will sit in front and potentially create a back four even then, with your DM slotting into defence. But even in front of that back three, I prefer an anchor. So halfback's not bad, but I think anchor is a better version of it. Inside forward is the best winger role on the game, but inverted winger is also not far off. They're basically more or less the same thing, but inside forward obviously will become... He will come more inside and be in front of goal. Inverted winger will just... He won't just be wide, it will come in, but it's more for cutbacks, the inverted winger role. But inside forward, I found so much success with inside forward this year. I've got so many goals out wide on inside forwards. This attack right, advanced forward, attacking midfielder and inside forward. Absolute deadly combination. Have two defensive midfielders behind that with 2 ball-playing defenders, 2 wing-back attacks. Unbelievable tactic. Inverted wing-back, I think it's a good role. I think you'll play better with it. It fits certain systems. I've used it with Palace a little bit when I had Tyreek Mitchell. Mitchell played it decently well. I've also obviously used Trent in this role. Trent was really good in this role. Rico Lewis, really good in this role as well. It's just... I had an asymmetric tactic this year where I had the DM over to the left and the inverted wing back was on the right, and he basically just become a 2 in defence of midfield, in possession, and then out of possession, the right back went back into defence and is a back 4. But I like inverted wing back. It's good when you're a good team. It doesn't work as much when you're a bad team and you're trying to, you're trying to grind out results. It's not good for those games. It's good when you've got possession, you've got the ball, and you can dominate teams. Libero. Now, Libero. I don't see how many times I've ever used a libero, but I'm pointing bad because this is my list at the end of the day, and I've never used a libero because why on earth would you want a centre back in attacking midfield? Realistically, just send your wing backs up. Why do you want a centre back in there? Just send your DM up. Why do you want a centre back there? Libero, unless you're just trying to take the piss, why are you using liberos? Mazzella, it's. I don't like it. I don't like the Mazzella. I think they go too far forward. It's obviously a centre mid role. You somehow can have it in defensive midfield. Why on earth you'd have it in defensive midfield, I have no idea. But I don't like how far forward they get. I much prefer advanced playmaker or even deep line playmaker. Mazzella is just too far forward. It leaves so many holes in your midfield, and I don't like the role. No nonsense centre back, bad role. We're not in 1990 anymore. We don't need to be hoofing the ball every time we get a ball at the back. Pep Guardiola has come over and revolutionised English football now. We can pass the ball out from the back. We don't need to launch it to the striker every time we get the ball at the back. But if you're doing a 12th tier English football save that you've somehow managed to download the database for, then sure, use a no-nonsense centre-back. But anything above that, you're probably not going to be using one. And why is no-nonsense fullback even a role? First of all, no-nonsense centre-back is there just purely off tradition. Why on earth is no-nonsense fullback even a role? I've never, ever, ever seen anybody use that role. Why is it a role? Pressing forward is a bad role. Realistically, why is it needed? Which could be, why is it a role? If you've got an advanced forward with a pressing system, he's still going to press. So what is the need for pressing forward? Any striker that you have, if you've got the player instructions on correctly and your tactic is to constantly trigger press and get stuck in, whatever striker role it is going to press. What is the need for pressing forward? I used it last year, and it was my striker could just never score goals, and he just was never in the right place. So I don't think it's a good role. Poacher though, I think is a good role. Poacher is a good role if you've got a striker that is not good. Basically, Haaland is brilliant at goal scoring, but he's not as good at dribbling or passing. This is what you want. Poacher is constantly breaking the defensive line. Poacher is constantly in the box, ready to score. That's a good role to use. I've used Poacher a fair few times this year and got success out of it. Regista, I've never used it, so I'm going to put why it's a role. If you've used the Register this year, let me know how it goes. As for Raumduta, I used this role once. It's a bad role. It's the Lionel Messi role. It's you put it on a winger that's gonna do nothing for the whole game until he's basically activated and he's ready to play. But other than that, for the rest of the game, he's walking. I don't like that role. Roaming playmaker, believe it or not, is a good role. I use this role, but the only problem, see, I could put it in mid actually. Roaming playmaker, when it works, is one of the best roles in the game in my opinion. But there's just so little amount of players that can play it. Like, Bernardo Silva is the perfect player for this role. He plays this well outstandingly. And when I used Roman Playmaker with Bernardo Silva in a team, he was phenomenal. One of the best players I've ever used on the game. But there's so little amount of players that fit this role. Because you need you need work rate, you need stamina, you need passing, vision, dribbling, you need agility, pace, you need so much to get them. You need intelligence as well, because Roman playmakers, you need a clever player to play it. Sweeper keeper, you'll play better with it. Actually, no, it's mid. There's no goalkeeper role that's going to be above mid, because realistically, there's 2 goalkeeper roles, and most people use sweeper keeper, but it's not like your goalkeeper's going to be scoring 60-yard goals as a sweeper keeper. It's not like it's going to revolutionise your team playing sweeper keeper. Shadow striker is a good role. You'll play better with a shadow striker. It's good for those asymmetric tactics where you want to play 2 up front, but you want one to be a lot deeper than the other. Shadow striker next to an advanced forward is pretty good. Similar, so if I was to compare it to a real life role, Aston Villa, when they have so they kind of play a 4-4-2 with 2 up front, but it's not really 2 up front. The second player is like a second striker, and shadow striker literally just means second striker. So it definitely works. Some of the players that are good for this, Musiala, Jacob Ramsey. Jacob Ramsey scored like 16 goals for me in an Aston Villa save as a shadow striker. Somehow Bruno Fernandes is really good at this role. Target man is a bad role. You're not going to get much out of a target man. It's just going to be a big lump that you lump the ball to. But unless you're playing in like the National League, I don't see where you get use out of a target man. It's a very, we're trying to come forward with football. We're trying to move away from the brick shithouse football. But it's still good in the lower leagues. I would love to go to League 2 and watch, Chris Wood be 6'5" and get the ball lumped to him. But most people are doing saves in the good leagues, and if you do start a lower league team, the aim in the lower leagues is to get to the big leagues anyway. Trequartista, I might have got Trequartista and Raumduta. I might have got those 2 mixed up. Trequartista might be the one where they do nothing, but whichever one that is, these 2 I might have got them mixed up, but I don't really like the role. Secundo Valente. A lot of people like this role. I've never really got much use out of it, but it's a decent role at the end of the day. You don't really go wrong with it. Wing back is the best fullback role on the game to use. It's so many different mentalities you can have in defense, support, attack. It fits so many different systems. So yeah, that's all I've got to say with that one. Wide midfielder is a bad role. You can only use it if you're using a flat 4-4-2 or your wingers are just in line with the central midfielders. and there's not many systems that can work using that. Winger, however, you will play better with a winger in certain systems, especially if you've got a taller striker. Wide playmaker, why is it a role? That's why I say for wide playmaker. Wide playmaker, you can only use, again, when the two wide players are in front of the advancement. When the two wide players are level with the central midfielders, just use an advanced playmaker out wide if you want to use that. And wide target man, why is that a role? Why would you have a 6'4" massive fuck out wide? Just put him up front if you want to use a target man. Why is wide target man a thing? Name me one wide target man in the history of football. Exactly. So yeah, that is it. That is all my roles ranked. What did I get massively wrong? Let me know. There is some roles missing actually. I didn't see inverted fullback. Where's inverted fullback? Inverted fullback would be you will play better. I have inverted fullback's one of the new roles this year, and it's really good as well. Levi, Colwell, Gavardio all play it really well, as do like Geertruida and Hincapi from Leverkusen as well. But yeah, that's my list. So what did I get horrendously wrong? Let me know. Let me know what roles you like, what roles you don't like. Maybe I put something in GOAT that you don't really like using. Or maybe I put something in bad that you like using. Maybe you're one of the weirdos that likes to use liberos. But that is it for this video. Make sure to like the video and leave in the comments what you want to see me do next. And make sure to subscribe for more content like this and just Football Manager content in general. And until next time, goodbye.